My grandfather came over on the boat, so my dad's first generation, and also more recently, we took a girl through the New York City Fresh Air Fund. She's come to us every summer for the past 8 years. She will be 16 in September. She's undocumented. Her parents are undocumented. She has 2 sisters that are American born. And we've become quite close with them. And I see the fear of her family. I see her fear. I see how limited she is. She can't get a job. She can't take part in many programs because she's not documented.
All of a sudden, everything becomes real. So it's not just reading a story in a paper or watching a television. This is a real human being in your own community who is facing the challenges of living in this state of fear every day.
I was very frustrated with everything in the news for the last year, and at some point I wanted to do something that felt more meaningful.
Se puede cantar, aquí se puede vivir, aquí se puede llorar, aquí se puede sembrar semillas de la verdad, aquí se puede encontrar la felicidad, aquí se puede cantar, aquí se puede vivir, aquí se puede llorar sin sufrir de más, aquí se puede sembrar semillas de la verdad.
A lot of organizers at the table.
That's great. One of the things I find peculiar in my daily life is when I start to talk about one of the people that we've met and, their families, invariably somebody says, well, why didn't they apply for citizenship? Mm-hmm. We were those people asking the questions a year ago. We were those people saying, well, what does it mean to be an undocumented immigrant? I mean, I know what an immigrant is, but what does it mean to be an undocumented immigrant? So now we know.
This wonderful family I am supporting has legal representation. They've had legal representation from the same attorney, Glenn Formica, for over 10 years. So this is not new for them. And, with the policy change, I think they've gotten a little more scrutiny, so we are concerned about them. They've gone through much of the legal options that they have, and they're at the end of the line. We still do hope that there's some possibility if they get deported. Now, both of the parents are vulnerable for deportation, and they have a U.S.-born child who does suffer from an illness that can't be addressed in the country of the parent's origin.
Because, my mother will say to me, how can this be? I read the newspaper.
Right.
I don't see this.
Right.
I see that 92% of the people being deported are criminals.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the object of this exercise is to put a face and to put some feelings on what's happening in our own backyards. That's the other thing. I think people would be shocked to find out that a guy in Brantford was set up and snatched by ICE, plainclothes ICE, on his way to an appointment that they had set up for. Right, and so these are the things that we can tell in 2 sentences. We can say, this is what I saw, this is who it is.
Frankly, I think a lot of the immigrants that I've been dealing with, I think are better citizens than me, to be honest with you.
The attorney or a team of attorneys develop a legal strategy for the person we're working with or the family. But they're often taking this case pro bono or at a very small fee, and they don't have the resources to gather information or to provide much emotional support for their client. Our team helps with all of that.
I was a little leery because I have a lot on my plate, and I wasn't sure about what kind of commitment it was. And also I didn't know anything about immigration law, so, which both those things were not an issue. The CTSI model really allows you to access what you can, to provide what you can. You can do sort of bite-size, accompaniments if that's all you have time for. And the model of the team is such that so many people are there, or there's always someone that can cover a particular need.
Our primary role is to establish a relationship with the client, individual, their family, to try to find out what their needs are related to the case, sometimes just related to getting by in their lives, which are very complicated.
I began through other friends here hearing about Nuri, and so I showed up at the events. Like I would go when she had to go with her ankle monitor to Hartford and check in, and have coffee with her afterwards. Or once we started having rallies about her on the New Haven Green, or when she was in sanctuary at the church in Fairhaven, I showed up and was there the day that she was actually released.
Wow.
And we decide a little bit as we go along what support we can offer.
So every family is different, and they have different needs, and you don't always uncover those needs right away. As conversations evolve, and you have to have multiple conversations to really get all the detail. And again, as a family like mine that's been here for so many years, all that detail may or may not be so consequential to them anymore. They've told their story a million times, but also they don't want to tell their story anymore. And also they're very cautious that, who am I? They don't necessarily know that I'm a safe place, and they've lived their lives here for almost 20 years feeling unsafe. As you hear their story, you might need to help with the driver's license.
Right.
Or you might, always you do the family preparedness plan. And then you find out, for example, that their child's school doesn't have additional people on their pickup list. So if only the parents have permission to pick up and they get deported or detained, that's a problem. So there's so many little details to flesh out, and in doing so, you become more, it just spirals. There's more to do, but you also see real progress.
We helped get her daughter into good, high-quality daycare, and so that was very fulfilling. So it was taking concrete steps, seeing the concrete results. Getting that child into daycare was huge, and in order to get her to daycare, the child needed a physical, she needed dental, she needed a vision test, and so we had to take all those steps in order to get her into the daycare.
They may need some research done on the background of a country that the individual came from.
I'm now on a team for Jackie. It's called Team Jackie, and she's from Guatemala, and we're trying to figure out what the situation is in Guatemala and what it was like when she left, what compelled her to leave, and what is the situation now, and why it would still be very dangerous for her to go back. So we're getting involved in doing research about the political, the economic, the military, the governmental situations in those countries.
And very often we provide information through that relationship that the legal team can use in building their case.
The more information you have, the more opportunity there is to find something that might support their case. I think we've found that on a couple times when we've done a timeline with the family, and you have to do it a few times. Something has popped up that might change the course of their case, and I think I've got my fingers crossed that's true for mine, and it was true for another family as well.
Sure, I think one of the most challenging parts of being on a team is for us to try to put ourselves, if we can, a little bit into the shoes of the people we're working with. We need to remind ourselves of why we're really there, and that they may not always give us the information we're looking for. Their lives are often more complex than ours, and it requires a lot of patience and and care for each other.
So there are so many different kinds of accompaniment. The accompaniment I have done is to the ICE at 450 Main Street in Hartford, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. So typically what happens is when an immigrant family is in the system, they will have to check in with ICE on some schedule that ICE will dictate.
We like them to have a witness or several witnesses, somebody just to be there with them while they have this experience. It helps to personalize what's going on. It helps for ICE agents to understand that this person is not alone and that they're a human being and not an object. And it often offers some comfort and support for the immigrant and their families.
They'll tell you when to come and you go, and you don't have any choice about the day or the time or how long it's going to take. It can take hours. It can take, the full day. You can be asked to come at 9 and they won't talk to you till 2. So it's not something you can say, I'm sorry, I have a doctor's appointment that day, or I have work. And again, they're just sort of normal people that work there. You'd like to demonize them, but there's no reason to do that. It's just the policy is cruel, and they are the enforcers of the policy. Every element of what we do as a team has surprised me and been impactful. I think the common element is the families. I have gone to accompaniment with 3 or 4 different families, and they communicate in different ways, and they have the different personalities, but there's such a vulnerability at accompaniment, and it's sort of this unpleasant government building where they turn the heat on or they don't, and it's sort of a cattle call, and so that in itself has an impactful event.
What surprised me was how simple it really is to stand in a hallway or to sit in a chair. For those of us who witness or accompany, our job is very easy. We're not the people going through the trauma and the stress.
I can't keep quiet. I cannot sit by and not say anything. It's just that too important to me.
Keep Joelle home! Keep Joelle home! Keep Joelle home! Keep Joelle home! Keep Joelle home!
If you don't speak up about it, you're almost complicit.
They come out to protest because it is wrong to break up families. This person that we're here for today is a hardworking man with 2 small children, a wife, his own business. He's been here a long time, and it's just wrong that we're pulling them families apart.
Protesting for these people who have lived in this country for so long, have abided by our rules, have families, send them back to very dangerous countries or dangerous situations, is certainly speaks about who we are as a country. This cannot define us.
This family's only sin, their motivation for being here is simply to improve their lives. And I really question the motivation behind those who would want to kick Joel out of the country and rip this family apart.
And there was also people from the Carpenters Union, the Unitarian Universalist Church in Danbury. There are people.
CT Shoreline Indivisible worked early on with Action Network to work with the family to put together a coalition. And we had a meeting last week with about 13 different community organizers, including union representatives, faith leaders, and other resistance groups from across the state. And so we all sat down at a table, decided how we wanted things to go, and planned out the next few weeks. We've only got 2 weeks before he's to be deported. We've got about 15 different community groups. That includes the union leaders, the faith leaders, and the immigrants' rights groups. So we all have our different media connections, but we started rolling out a petition. We got 13,000 signatures. Once you start your petition rolling, then you can alert the media. Look, we got 6,000 signatures in 24 hours. That becomes part of the story that unfolds. Their curiosity is piqued. As soon as you get a media hook, then you can use that to prompt other media. Well, I mean, I started texting people Friday night as soon as we had our meeting and said, keep alert because we have something coming and we want you there.
When we contacted the senator's or representative office, we asked them to be supportive of the case, which means they need to learn all of the background material and all of the information. Sometimes they write letters to ICE and Homeland Security. They come to rallies. They meet the family in their home. They go to vigils, and having that support from the senators and representatives makes a big difference.
All we're asking for is Joel's day in court, for his case to be heard and for time to let his process be complete. He has done nothing but comply with all of the orders given to him, and all we are asking for is that time and to reconsider Joel's case to keep him home with us. The torment that we've been living in for the past 6 months has been unbearable, that I don't wish upon any family to ever go through. And I'm so thankful for everybody coming out and using their power of their voice to help make a difference, because we can do it. God gave us the power of a voice, and we can fight and we can fix all the damage that's being done. We all come together and fix this, not only for Joel, but all the other families that are being ripped apart by these cruel policies.
Yes, goodbye to my one, goodbye, Rosalita. Adios, mis amigos, Jesus, Maria. You won't have a name when you ride the big airplane. All they will call you will be deported. Some of us are illegal, some are not wanted. Our work contract's out and we have to move on. 600 miles to the Mexican border. They chase us like outlaws, like rustlers, like thieves. And we died in your hills, and we died in your deserts. We died in your valleys, we died on your plains. We died